Fuck.
Oh boy, sorry, I just had one of them brain thinking things, and I don't know if it's ever gonna come up again, but
So, I have some bad news. You guys?
what's that?
I liked this dumb movie.
The news.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know
take
you're
it all
surprised. I know
back.
you're,
I take everything I said last episode back. It's And Comes at Night is a
I'm
masterpiece.
sure it disappoints you that I liked this dumb movie, but I did, so.
I don't
I
really
don't-
care. I was just expecting you to going in to hate it.
Yeah, well, me too.
I'm only.
I mean, you can look at it from the perspective of everyone's a fucking psychopath. You could do it that way, and maybe it'd be...
I mean, I think the movie does a good job of supporting that angle.
well, yeah, that's.
The fucking...
See, here's what's
this-
happening. Dunk's having his Into the Wild.
Precisely, I had that exact thought. Yeah, it's 100% the same dynamic where, like, I watch it and I sort of just
You
see
enjoy it
this.
because the people are insane, and I mean, I don't like this movie, but I like some of the stupid fucking characters in this movie like get me to laugh, but
Yeah.
not for the intended reasons.
Right.
It's just like
The fucking...
where did these humans exist?
Well,
like,
it's-
it's almost like that fucking miracle storm didn't just spawn Timothy; it also spawned these insane caricatures
Yeah.
of human beings.
I mean, like,
The Odd Life of Timothy Green is like a fucking AT field in the form of a movie. It's fucking... I don't know how to describe it. It's
Are you
so
talking
bad.
about how the AT field is actually autism? Tied in?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Sure.
That
we'll
is a
go
theory.
that
That
route.
is something that is discussed. I wasn't sure if that's where you were going.
Oh yeah, there was that.
Ava's
yeah.
about everything.
Yeah, I remember.
All theories are correct because Ava's about everything at once.
Yeah.
That's my
I don't
theory.
know. It's not about
Asuka
Klonoa,
fucked-
so it's not about everything.
Asuka fucked Shinji in her Steins Gate cosplay.
Yeah. So, well,
Whoosh,
it's
right over.
yeah. I have no idea what he's talking about. I haven't
It's
read
a
Steins Gate.
time travel show, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a red-haired bitch in it. That's all.
Gotcha.
It's got weird gray eyes.
So yeah, it's, I guess people being insane is part of it, but I think a lot of it is just that what he wanted to do with the script, and I say he because it's the same guy who wrote Gilbert Grape, which I'm pretty sure is a terrible movie. Although I
Gilbert
might need to
Gottfried.
revisit it to actually verify if it's terrible or not. What he's trying to do is so simple, and he's trying to do it so, and he's doing it so poorly that it's like the entire film, all it does is have room to shoot itself in the foot. And it's kind of fascinating how it does that. Like, it's so incompetent. And it doesn't even understand the message that it wants to convey. So it's like, it becomes this surreal, like Charlie Kaufman-esque low fantasy, where it's like ironic because of how far-fetched its premise is from any actual direct application to reality. And it becomes like a subversion of human psychology in that sense. That's what I felt pretty strongly from. Now, like, the first couple of minutes, I was just like Ryan, where I was like groaning, and I was like, you can't be serious. But it was so bad that it got to a point where it's like, oh, you can't
It
be
looped
serious.
around.
Yeah, so
I'm not big-brained enough to have thought
But
like that. I just...
But it's the kind of thing where it's not just that it's bad enough, it's that it's like creatively bad. Like, it's bad in ways that I haven't seen before. Like, just in terms of the characters not having consistent motivations or just being completely unhinged or like doing things
like
that aren't.
fucking Jennifer Gardner's character as a whole.
Yeah.
Just is very, very unsettling.
But
and I think in another movie would be a very effective villain.
Yeah, I think the premise of having, suddenly we have a kid now, and don't ask questions, and nobody asks questions or call the police, I think that is a pretty good setup for a premise for like a surreal, uncanny, non-reality story of...
Yeah, in that way it is, but like, you have to like actually fucking think for that.
I guess.
Like, that's an actual like idea for something. This film is fucking Miracle Whip.
Well,
on Wonder
you
Bread.
really should know by now that the artist intent means less than nothing to me at all. I don't care if it was...
Nobody cares about Ahmet Zappa and his original idea.
Like, I don't care if it was accidentally drawn by, like, a 4-year-old with Down syndrome. I'm still going to treat it the same as a fucking Picasso, because that's how I approach things.
Oh, I get it.
Okay.
See, that didn't make any sense to me, though.
Like, as open-minded as you.
When they were writing down the things they wanted in their kid, it's just like, oh, he's Picasso with the pencil, and then he draws, like,
Yeah.
a literal portrait that's nothing like Picasso.
Yeah, like, that's the thing, is it's going in several directions at once, and that's what makes it so fascinating to me, is that it's like, it's almost trying to be a be careful what you wish for story, but it isn't, because everything works out for the better. And it's like almost trying to be a you just have to believe story, but it's so detached from any benefit belief would actually have on your life that it ends up meaning nothing. And it's not like God is involved. So it's this completely like, it's several messages with nothing to substantiate them, just sort of like conflicting with each other in this weird, surreal void of like anti-rural America or something. And it's fascinating.
I will admit, I do see some similarities between like Chris McCandless and Timothy, at least in terms of their sort of Christ-like portrayal.
Yeah.
In the same way that it's just like, oh, they show up and they bring light and illumination to everyone's lives. And with Timothy Green, it's even more egregious because he fucking holds his hands out like he's on a cross.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, what is subtlety?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he praises the... Well, actually, you know what it is? He's a huge Dark Souls fan.
Yeah.
It's part of the Sunlight Covenant.
No, but that's like literally a shot from Into the Wild, if you remember, when he's on top of the mountain and it does the exact same shot.
Well, that's like a hack.
Well, that's because
a hack bit of filmmaking, is to have...
And also, Chris isn't a plant kid, so he doesn't need to take in the sunlight.
Yeah, in fact, the dumb shit where it's like, oh, he's eating right now, almost makes me like less mad at how hacky that bit is, because it's like, look, he's hungry. Man's got to eat. What do you want him to do?
I'm just gonna.
But it looks like everyone's like fucking supposed to be magically enhanced in the fucking circle of Timothy's radius of fucking.
But I mean, yeah, and that's...
I wouldn't apply that to everyone.
And that's bullshit. And if your only takeaway from it is that, oh, you just got to believe in what blah, 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 yeah, then it's pretty terrible. But it's like, I feel like it's so obviously incompetent at conveying that no one would actually get that message from it. Anyone with like a brain wouldn't watch this and be like, oh, see, this is why you just got to believe, because it's like, well, fucking why? Who is gonna plant the kid in the garden? It's not a convincing enough or real enough narrative to actually sell that you just need to believe for good things to happen. So it falls over itself so much that instead becomes a story of like,
of all the falls.
It becomes closer to Stalker because it's a story about people getting exactly what they want and then having to deal with how unsatisfying that ultimately is. That's my takeaway, unironically. Even though it does end on a happy ending, it's not like... It's a happy ending that's completely... It's not what they wanted. It's not what they wanted, and it's totally disconnected from the entire plot of the movie. Like, it would essentially have been arbitrary if it was a happy or a depressing ending. Because it really has no direct connection to any of the events that occurred, at least thematically. Like the events of the most of the movie are them out of desperation trying to define what a kid would bring to their lives, like trying to define the meaning that is absent from their existence in sort of just these bullet points that they've brainstormed. And then they go to sleep, and something exists that satisfies those bullet points and nothing else. And they sort of like, they assign meaning to it, and then they only assign meaning to it because of the expectation of the future bullet points that'll be fulfilled. And once the last bullet point is fulfilled, it's almost like it never really existed, in a sense.
Right.
So it's like...
It is I think it's interesting how there's no... I would have given the film a lot more shit if they did go into this, but the fact that they leave Timothy's origins to be at least somewhat ambiguous. I mean, it's clear that he just fucking rose out of the earth because he's a fucking zombie plant man.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't even want to think of the logistics of that.
you know, it is entirely possible that he was just a kid who just got dirty and then, you know, just disappeared one day, or if he's some weird
Just
ghost
dug
child,
that
or
giant hole. And
I guess-
dug up the fucking...
I guess if I don't know, you could have, if you'd done this film slightly differently, you could have sold it as the leaves just being a collective hallucination. But I think too many people see them and confirm their existence for that to really be a good.
massive
would have been a
hysteria.
Sixth Sense-esque twist. We've been believing the leaves are real the whole time.
Well, you wouldn't ever establish if they are real or not. You just leave it open. That's how you make good movies.
Yeah, imagine how retarded.
Well, yeah, but
it
I'm
would
just
be
imagining
if, like,
that if that, you know, that's how the film probably would present itself.
Right.
I think
Like-
one of my favorite parts of this film, though, as a quick tangent, is the fucking names of the characters being on the nose. I think is a bit kind.
I don't even fucking
Like,
remember
oh,
their names.
Jin and Cindy Green.
Well, there's that. Well, there's that. But the names I want to focus on.
Crudstaff.
Fucking, yeah, Crudstaff. That's literally just switch them out for synonyms, and you get fucking shit stick.
Yeah.
That's his fucking name. And then
Well, shit stick, but also staff because he abuses his employees. It's like a double entendre.
Well, that too. And then also you have Garner's sister, whose name is Brenda Best, because her kids are the best.
Yeah.
Don't you get it? Don't you understand?
I think it's not.
Well, let me explain it to you again, okay? So
Okay.
it's about her kids being better
Yeah.
than everyone else.
Right.
Is. Okay, you got it now?
Yes, I
Okay,
follow
good.
it. I mean,
Good.
it's pretty dense, but I feel like I follow it. Also,
So dense, every frame.
having the kid like start playing trashy pop music at the end of the recital is a good bit. It wasn't funny in this movie because this movie isn't very good at doing things that it wants to do, but it just in the abstract, that's a good bit to own the sister by like playing
some shit.
or like Britney Spears Toxic or something. Would also have been good.
Even mention that.
It's funny that
crazy
you mentioned
shit.
that song, because I remember in my Philmont trip we just would sing that on the mountains because most of the other scout troops would sing like dumb marching songs.
Oh yeah.
And we saw that music video because at the hotel we were staying at, someone tuned it to like MTV or something, and that music video was playing, and we just
Which is
started singing.
really-
It was so.
You're talking about
It was
Toxic,
so.
right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my god, that music video is so hot. Like,
It was-
She's got like the shortest.
yeah, it's
skirt,
wild.
And she's fucking rubbing on.
You know
that
what? That's
dude's
great.
dick.
But we were just singing that because we liked the idea of fucking shouting a pop song out in the middle of the
That's
New Mexico
good.
wilderness.
That's a good pop.
Well,
song.
yeah, because I mean, Toxic is like a fucking masterpiece.
It is legitimately like
It's-
the best pop song of the.
it's a really-
2000s.
Really good song. Anyway, yeah, so I was just like, there are just so many things that I'm baffled by, and am baffled to the degree that I end up enjoying them. The thing where the grandfather's entire shtick is he's like, we got a ball. I'm just gonna throw this ball at all the kids. Is this how?
Yeah, I really love drilling these kids with
And
a fucking dodgeball.
I've never played a game of dodgeball where the premise is one guy uses the ball and everyone else just has to dodge, and they have no way to win. They just have to avoid the ball until the time runs out, until the guy gives
I guess
up,
that's just
basically.
Well, actually, what it
Grandpa
is-
dodgeball, where Grandpa throws a ball at all these little fucking kids.
They were actually playing a game of struggle, but there was only one ball.
Oh, God.
The kids didn't
Now you can struggle all you want.
The fucking movie pauses and then Timothy has to fight Axel.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, Timothy is actually Sora's nobody. It's another one. That's why he has to go back. He's pulled out of the simulated Twilight Town.
Fox Timothy.
I'm also really happy that they didn't do what I thought they were going to do and have him get romantically involved with a girl that's like 5 years older than him. Because that would have been dubious, to say the least.
I really wish they would have like kissed and she rubbed his dick.
They might have.
You would have liked it if child abuse was a part of the production of this film. That would have made it better.
That would have been a more interesting movie.
Well, maybe we should watch Blue Lagoon next week. Maybe that'll make you feel better if we watch Blue Lagoon. Or just fuck it, let's just do child pornography if that's so interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think that's really abuse because they're like the same age, right?
Why?
That's
why
more just like.
Well, no, but I mean, like if the old fucking rich filmmakers are like, all right, now it's time to kiss him. And they fucking have a... It's like, yeah, that's... I'm pretty sure that's child abuse.
Oh my God.
Like the fucking Pope's home movies, but it's in a Hollywood studio.
Yeah, I think they were like 16 when they were filming that.
Yeah, which is... I mean, it's ridiculous because we've accepted as a culture that if you have teenagers that are fucking, you get adults to play the teenagers that are fucking, and we just deal with it. Like, we accepted that pretty much universally. So it's very clear when someone's like, no, let's actually cast children. It's like, okay, that's you. You just want that for your own authenticity. Your own directorial authenticity.
Yeah, for the true authenticity, we had these two 15-year-olds.
Yep.
Fuck. Actually, one of them's
I'm going to do the math on this.
Yeah.
1980 minus 1965. Yep, 15.
Man, calculators are... I'm glad we have calculators. Can you imagine doing that manually?
In our pockets, even.
Can you imagine doing that exact equation? That would take so long.
Imagine doing y equals mx plus b in your head.
That's not...
Yeah, what's the solution to y equals mx? To y equals mx plus b, what's the solution?
C.
Considering they're all unknown values, this should be interesting to hear.
I guess it would just be another unknown value.
Well, it's y.
One.
That's the solution.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's the output of the function mx plus b.
Holy shit. Wow, yeah. I'm stupid.
You're stupid. I was just wondering if, by including the solution in the prompt, there's then another definition of solution that's possible. But you need a longer prompt. Probably.
Well, I think in that sense, the solution would be to find out what the unknown values are.
Yeah, you're right.
Not just y.
You're right.
Which is the idea.
Welcome back to the math podcast. Today we're going to talk about...
function of a line, like the linear equation, is definitely the least interesting of all linear functions. Just the straight line.
Yeah.
You want to get a vertical line.
If this boy has a leaf on his ankle, then we can all make a pencil out.
I was...
yeah, what the fuck?
I thought it was in... Well, first off, let me start by saying that I found it blasphemous that Peter from Office Space is a boss.
Yeah, Ron Livingston.
Like,
That's improper.
That's unacceptable.
He's fulfilled the role of Lumbergh now.
You guys... You've seen Office Space, so...
Yeah.
Ryan, you haven't seen
Space.
I might still pick it. It's pretty important that Ryan watch that movie. I don't know. I'm still tossing it around in my head.
Dunk.
What?
Dunk. Doesn't it feel good to be a gangsta?
It does.
Don't feel good to drive a bus. People need to get picked up.
That's not in the movie.
What movie were you watching?
I love how they decide that, you know what, even though our grandfather is in his dying moments, we should just leave him with the grandson that he's known.
That he's known like
a day.
Yeah, and it... That's
he likes his jokes, and that's about it.
That's what's fascinating, is that the grandpa is able to tell that the kid is the only person who understands his just brilliant, inspired PB&J joke. Just absolutely
and the
fucking...
and the BLT follow-up
like,
as well.
That's a good example.
That is such a grandpa.
That's a good example of a joke that's so terrible that I like it, because it's like... we've been establishing that this guy is supposed to be funny since like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it's just so limp. It's just the fucking limpest payoff imaginable.
Well, I'd say it's a very perfect like grandpa telling.
Well, and again, it's not just bad, but it's bad in a creative way. Like, I've never heard a bad joke quite like that before. Like, I've never heard a joke that was just someone really racking their brain trying to think of a joke, and they struggled for days and days and days until they just sort of found this weird weird angular approach to the concept of a joke and then wrote it down and called it the script. Like, it was just, it's so bizarre.
It's almost like I can just imagine the writers doing the same thing that the main characters do in this movie, which is they write down all these ideas for this character, which are so abstract that they just sort of, it's almost like they're figuring it out on the fly what each of the different things they put in the box means.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we want him to be funny, but we don't want him to be like making fun of people funny or like farting funny.
Yeah.
Those are the only two kinds of funny, by the way.
This, but unironically. I mean, like, the thing is that there's like absurdist humor, but when you actually break down good absurdist humor, the core of the joke is asserting nihilism, which is in a way just making fun of people again. You've just circled back to making fun of people. At least that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's what the humor, at least the Hollywood definition of humor, is just pointing at someone and laughing at their misfortune at the end of the day. It goes all the way back to like the Three Stooges and their slapstick.
Something like Eric Andre bits, aside from the Man on the Street bits where someone is very clearly the butt of the joke, but like non-Man on the Street Eric Andre bits where it's just like him and Hannibal in the studio just sort of riffing or doing this sketch or whatever. Who is being poked fun at is everyone in the universe for existing. That's the bit. It's not like this is like humor without a victim. It's just like, no, we're fucking parasites. And that's the joke.
I am the octopus.
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene in this movie is where like Timothy jumps into the pool and sinks like he's made of lead.
Yeah.
Which is not how that works
But
at
he's
all.
clearly doing it to get pussy because he swims up. As soon as the plan goes awry, he swims out of the water.
That also might be because he's running low on oxygen. It may also be a factor.
Well, yeah, but like,
Creates oxygen.
why is he sitting at the bottom of the water?
Because he doesn't know how to swim. That's what they're thinking.
Oh, you're
Like,
trying to fuck with me, I guess.
Well, that's, yeah, in a sense. But I imagine the writers, well, like Ahmet Zappa or whoever it was, like, I think it was Peter Hedges.
Yeah, Peter Hedges.
And they're talking about this scene, and they're like, we'll have Jennifer Gardner's character talk about how we should have asked him if he could swim. And then we'll have him jump into the pool, and he'll sink like a lead rock because he doesn't know how to swim.
I feel like this fucking movie is like a ploy by Soy, because this whole time we've been like, oh, Soy's only choosing animated movies. They're so good. I wonder what the first live action movie will be.
And it was Smart House.
Can we talk for a second about how this movie, one of the biggest ways it shoots itself in the foot, I think, is by telling us that they're at the adoption agency. Like, showing that as a big establishing shot, because it's like...
Well, we have to have a reason for them to narrate it.
No, you don't, because that establishes mystery and gets you invested, instead of what this film does, which is take you out of it as soon as it begins.
And also, the kid's gonna die or disappear.
Well, I don't think it's... I think I probably wouldn't hate it as much, because I also hate it, that one shot of them just showing the fucking sign.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hated it if the wide shot that they do, like, when they pan into the window, if you could see the adoption center sign, or just, like, I don't know, if it just says Building 2A or something like that. I wouldn't have minded if it was there, because, you know, it's part of the establishing shot, and it's not as egregious as just a fucking hard cut
hard zoom.
Adoption agency.
God.
Okay,
yeah.
I guess we're here now.
That's a very literal interpretation of show, don't tell that I feel like misses the point. Look, we're showing you the sign. That's what you wanted, right?
That's not even... Yeah, that's just, like... that's the monkey's paw version of show, not tell.
Yeah.
See, we're not verbalizing it, but it's still good, right?
That's the kicking the winning goal into your own team's goal of show, don't tell.
Oh, God. Like, okay, well, why does that one backfire? That's what I want to know. Why is that
that's
one that's chosen?
We need to make sure the
why didn't he tell a Holocaust joke? That would have been really funny.
This with their family, understand
that's part of why I find this film interesting, is because it doesn't it fails at being consistent at any of the multitude of things that it tries its hand at, because it's like it doesn't actually do monkey's paw because the other wishes they had were specific enough that they don't backfire that badly. But then just this one randomly happens to backfire. I mean, I guess the most generous interpretation would be that the Joel Edgerton needs to learn to not play into his dad's narrative for him. Instead of like, pulling it off and then succeeding, he needs to just not participate in that kind of cold neglect narrative that his dad instilled in him, which kind of makes sense, but it would be nice if that was established more than not at all, really. I kind of just had to bring that.
It's just myself. Like, oh, who invited him? Oh, I didn't think he'd come.
He's just.
I'm gonna throw a dodgeball at kids now, and I'm gonna leave my grandson's soccer game.
I mean, he's such a cartoon that the dynamic between them is really obvious, but the importance of Joel getting out of that dynamic is not ever really established. It's kind of just,
It's my opinion, by the way, that this movie is a prequel to It Comes at Night.
Oh, yeah? I was thinking it's a prequel to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but that's...
Yeah, it's not the first time he's had his son fucking die.
But that's, really, you only get it if you've seen that movie. I don't think you guys have seen that movie. Actually, maybe I'll pick that movie. That would be a good one.
Go date that whoever played the black lady in It Comes at Night.
He's just like, well, it's the post-apocalypse. Time to have a wife.
Yeah.
Jennifer Gardner is dead.
Maybe I should plant some plants to remind myself of that one fucking weird plant zombie kid I had when I for like.
Well, actually, that was what was coming at night. Little known fact.
Yeah, Timothy Green was coming back
with the plague.
An adult.
Yeah, he's got like.
Well, I guess
ivy on his legs.
I guess if he is an agent of God, and then it's time for the rapture, then he would come back with the plague and the locusts and whatnot.
I'm going to say it right now. Jesus is a more interesting character than Timothy Green.
Well, of course. That was never up for Jesus is a great character.
A character than mystery plant child that says nothing.
I mean, Jesus is a great character in the Bible, and his actual real-life character is about 18 times more interesting than that. So from any angle, Jesus is a pretty fascinating dude. The only angle he's not interesting from is if you ask a white Christian about Jesus.
And that's that's what I was going to say.
Right, okay.
Is that white Christians interpret Jesus as being this bland milquetoast prophet who just went from place to place and like healing people and doing nothing else.
The ultimate disrespect.
When even like the night before, the night of the crucifixion after the Last Supper, he like prays to God and he's just like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. It's going to be fucking painful as shit. Can you get someone else to do it? Shit, I don't want to die. I'm kind of attached to this earthly existence.
I don't know how I feel about the thing where people are going to make a really graphic R-rated movie of this and then bring their children to the theater with them to see it. I'm not crazy about that.
Love it if everything in the trailer was the same, but the only difference was the rating was R.
That's the kind of thing that gets me to see movies. Is a trailer that like, well, why the fuck is it rated? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just very.
It's like that one Deadpool poster that made it look like a romantic comedy.
I mean, I've always wished for, you know how when sometimes in horror movie trailers, the first like half of the trailer, it'll be like a college comedy or something, and then it will devolve into a horror.
Yeah.
I've always wanted one of those to just never give up the bit and always be a college comedy trailer. And then like that would be cool enough to do like MGS2 again.
Yeah, have fucking like Tiffany Haddish and fucking Kevin Hart in it.
Well, let's please not Kevin Hart because I can't stand him ever in anything.
And then it's like a legit fucking horror movie where they both die like halfway through and the interesting movie starts. I should really play MGS2. I saw like a bit from it again, and I was like, okay, I actually want to.
Didn't you get to? Where'd you get to? Fat
like
Man?
Nowhere.
That's where you stopped. Oh no.
When I first played it, I got to Fat Man and I had to disable.
Which is, oh my god, you fucking.
But that was when I was in like fucking middle school.
I mean, there are a couple of the bombs that are a bit tricky, but like to quit the game over that. Jesus.
Well, it wasn't like I quit the game because that was so
You could
hard.
just look it
Like,
up. Like, it's not... You're not going to fucking ruin the story if you look up the location of one of the bombs.
Well, actually, then you
Well, I
find
knew
out
that.
that Fat Man was writing the Fat Man nuclear bomb that was dropped in 1945.
Nice.
And it kind of
It was like
kind of ruins the story. It's
2015,
kind of
other shit was
cringe.
happening.
Kind of
Fucking,
cringe, NGL.
Like,
God, I fucking hate that phrase.
I had
NGL?
Smash to play.
Just
Kind of cringe
that's
in
pretty
general.
well,
Undertale
kind of cringe.
existed,
The
and I was like,
NGL
why
is
do I need to
optional.
keep playing MGS2?
I love it because it's so terrible that I never took it seriously at any point. So it's just always been an ironic phrase to me.
Yeah, well, it's just people like use that, and then like that's just raising the flag, and then everyone else is just like, I agree, this is now cringe.
Well, that's
Instead
what
of
the
like thinking about it.
that's what the cringe declaration has always been. Really, is if you actually stop and think about the particular motivations of its participants, it's like you don't have a consistent argument for why this is cringe. You're just rolling with it. Like there is a consistent argument to be made for a lot of these things, but only like a few guys actually made it, and most of the people are just trying to not stand out too much because they don't want to defend Chris Chan or whatever, or at least argue for Chris Chan for the sake of argument to then decide that they want to also call Chris Chan cringe, but they don't even go through the fucking process of doing that. It's just straight to the, which is annoying.
Ugh.
I think that's pretty cringe, to be honest. TBH, NGL, IMHO fam.
There will never be another person whose life is as documented as
It's
Christian Weston
yeah,
Chandler's,
it's
and that's an odd fact of life.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird world.
DSP is a way more interesting internet figure, in my opinion.
He is.
Next week we're gonna review.
Because he's
This
like,
is how you don't
conscious
play.
of his actions.
something.
The Odd Life of Phil Burnell.
Yeah.
Coming up next. What the fuck, dude? I got these vines on my feet, man. Oh my god, I can't cut them off. What the fuck, dude? And then in the This Is How You Don't Play, that's the movie of this, I imagine there's like YouTube comments flashing on screen that say like, if you were paying attention, you'd know that the vines are unbreakable. They're actually the reason why you have your plant abilities.
Yeah.
This is how you don't play life. A documentary about Phil Burnell. God. Yeah, let's make that.
No, I'm good on that. I don't want to do that.
It's not a YouTube video he can just upload straight up.
That's exactly.
So he doesn't want to do it.
Exactly. What else? Oh yeah, what the fuck? I love that their solution to explaining why the leaf pencil is necessary or would sell at all is just to not address it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like it's made. If we can make a pencil out of leaves, then we can keep everyone in the factory.
And-
Wait, what?
So you're
What's
telling
that
me
mean?
you're telling me investing in like an entire new, like you would need a completely new set of equipment to manufacture that different resource.
Yeah, because
And-
they made that out of like dead leaves.
Yeah.
They poured in. I think it was like I don't even know what it was. I think it was some kind of natural like binding agent that they painted green. And it's like, that was all through homemade shit. And you're going to try and industrialize that
Yeah.
to keep everyone's
And-
jobs when these are just like factory worker mooks.
And like consumers are going to be interested in this. Why exactly? Or is it going to be cheaper on their end? Because that doesn't seem even possible. Pencils are cheap as fuck.
Pencils are like a cent.
So how the fuck are you going to like
It's free.
get people to use like giant wedges instead of their established? How are you going to get Scantrons to be like number 2 and leaf pencils?
How are you gonna sharpen
Number
the shit?
leaf.
Yeah, how are
Probably
you
with,
going to...
well, I mean, it's probably going
Are
to
we
be like
gonna
a
get new
traditional
sharpeners
pencil.
just for your one fucking pencil?
I mean, probably, or you'd sharpen it with a knife like they used to do with pencils.
Yeah, give every kid a little sharpening knife.
Yeah, I could get down with that. And you could have like proper shank fights in school.
I mean,
Because when I was a kid, we just stabbed each other with pencils, and it was never quite the same.
it's just weird that they went with a pencil factory. Because there are so many other options where you could have a believable situation where it's like, oh, we made some new minor optimization and it's enough to save the company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pencils is like one of the few things where that just would never be fucking plausible at all.
I need to
love
find
how
something
his,
that all people need. It's a shirt.
His
It's a
coworker
glove.
at
It's a
the
hat.
factory still works at fucking the 911 call center. He fucking answers him when he calls 911 because there's a fucking weird.
Well, yeah, this entire movie takes place in this weird, it can't decide if it wants to be the suburbs or a small rural town, so it's just kind of both at the same time. To the degree that I don't know if there's actually any place in America that's like that, where the guy on the operator. Maybe there is.
I believe there are, and I think the reason why. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, so I just Googled Stanleyville, by the way, and the first result I got is Kisangani, which formerly Stanleyville or Stanleystad, is the capital of the Sopo province in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So that's actually where this film takes place, is in the Congo.
Well, now I have many more questions.
That makes sense.
Maybe they're right then when they hunt and kill the albinos. If this is what white people in the Democratic Republic of Congo can do, is summon zombie children.
I mean, that's traditional African folk magic for
Which,
you.
I mean, I don't think albinos are technically white people, but I'm not sure. I don't know
I think it's a different class.
Can be an albino.
Yeah.
It's a different class, I think.
Which then...
I've met an albino black man, by the way. It was a religious experience.
But then how do you know what race they were if they weren't albino?
Sometimes they have splotches.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a different thing, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. I don't know anything about stuff.
It's like...
Also, I could tell because he had huge red lips. He was eating a watermelon. And,
Jesus Christ! Jesus.
He was standing up on stage, and
that checks the box on the checklist for soy was racist.
Well, then actually, if you want to,
that's a checklist.
If you want to actually break that down, it's more likely that he's white than if he was putting on a minstrel show. He just forgot the shoe polish.
Well, yeah, you didn't let me mention the collar that was around his neck. He was leading off stage.
Holy shit! Hell yes,
checklist of Ryan fucking pointing out the bit, and the bit goes.
That's one of the worst, I think.
Yeah. It's bad. We need to make our bingo card.
And I'm being racist because I'm talking about a caricature that not only I didn't make, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that.
Well, I know. I'm smarter than that.
Then why'd you say? Never mind.
Well, it's just a bit. It's the bit. It's just the bit.
I mean, people. If anyone were to listen,
look at things at such a quick surface level reaction.
Oh yeah,
no, nuance is dead. Is the thing, which is not to say that what we're doing is nuanced, but any critical understanding of it, which doesn't exist, but if it did, would not be nuanced. It should be, but it wouldn't be, etc. That's the entire that's my entire ideology. That's why I said I would treat a 4-year-old picture with Down syndrome same as a Picasso, because I think the onus is on the critic to apply nuance to the work.
That's how I feel when I look at people of different races.
You look at the crime stats.
Now you're
yeah.
You have JonTron mail you over the crime stats, and you.
Ricky, I was doing up some reading on some
racist.
crime stats up here in Sunnyvale, and apparently 13% of the population commit 50% of the violent crimes. Really gets the head scratching.
Bubbles, we commit violent crimes every season.
Bubbles, what the fuck are you talking about? That's us doing the violent crimes. We're the 13%.
We just blame it on the
Ricky, we're not black.
We just blame it on the
Ricky, you
blacks.
gotta get back to fighting the heartless.
Yeah, we were doing a Trailer Park Boys in Kingdom Hearts and Trailer Park Boys in Dark Souls riffs last night. They were very strong. They were both very strong.
Man. Sad that I missed out on that.
You could do Trailer Park Boys in about any situation, and it's strong. I wouldn't add them to another comedy because that might be rough. But
well, yeah, because then it's just two comedies happening at each other,
which is usually not good. Yeah,
it'd be like if you tried to make, I don't know, like a parody of a parody or something like that. It just wouldn't, or a parody of a comedy, I should say.
Which
it just wouldn't really work.
Does exist, and now I'm trying to remember. There's got to be one of those spoof movies that targets another comedy.
And I guess not to say that it couldn't be a bad idea, especially if it's like a romantic comedy. But I mean more a comedic work that's like making fun of itself, and then you satirize it and make a parody by continuing to make fun of yourself. It's just like, okay, well, now you're just doing the same
well,
thing.
if you were to actually satirize it, it wouldn't be comedy. It would be like a hard tragedy, like a hard depressing tragedy. Yeah, hard R, depressing tragedy. It'd be like, oh God.
No one in Hollywood is smart enough or brave.
I don't know if I'd say no one, but very few. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Todd Solondz's movies, but I feel like some of his stuff might fit that description. There's one.
Well, that's because he's a nobody is the thing. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say that.
He's Spielberg's nobody.
God damn it.
Speaking of which, I didn't realize this. I noticed that in the fucking opening credits, a fucking James Cameron executive.
John Cameron. Idiot.
God damn it. It was, fuck.
Yes, James Cameron, busy, like, took a break from Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5, which he's working on all simultaneously, too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, they're all fucking planned. They're all scheduled for release, last I checked.
They are, yes. So is Avatar 13, and they haven't even finished all the other ones yet.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's not working. He has no idea what he's going to do for 5. He just agreed to it because he'll just make something up. James Cameron.
It's Pocahontas again.
He's made 3 good movies, and I'm hesitant to include Aliens in there because I have beef with Aliens. But Terminator 1 and 2 are very good.
Aliens is good.
Okay. I was going to say you were going to pick like Terminator 1, 2, and Alien 1.
Alien is Ridley Scott.
Oh, that's right.
Which is why it's great. And better than all of his movies. And Aliens is... I guess it's a good movie, but I have so many problems with it. And I resent it so much for like ruining sci-fi, like mainstream action sci-fi for years. Think about how many times you've played a sci-fi game and it's just the fucking Aliens assault rifle. It's the exact same. The entire like saturation of the Space Marine concept goes directly back to Aliens. And I'm sick of fucking Space Marines. I feel like I was born sick of Space Marines. I don't think it was ever that good of an idea, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Next time on the I hate something that's not related to what we're supposed to be talking about podcast.
I hate everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Wait, a film about a magical pre-adolescent boy whose personality and naivete have profound effects on the people in his town. Okay.
Is that naivete? Is that what that is?
According to Wikipedia,
it kind of seems like he knows exactly what he's doing for most of the film. He like realizes that he's going to change everyone's lives all the time.
He, unlike like 11-year-old boy, is completely aware of himself and his actions and his surroundings, and which is incredibly odd.
And you could tell that because
which I suppose is fitting since it's an odd life.
You can tell that because of his like silence and patience, because a regular 11-year-old boy would be like doing all kinds of stupid bullshit. But the fact that he's like quiet and reserved and only does things when it's relevant.
Ray Ayanami-esque like knowledge of everything that's
going on. Not even fucking close. You're really trying to force the Ava in this episode.
No, I'm not.
No, you don't remember that part where Ray was like pulling the leaves off her legs?
No. Maybe that was in the Netflix.
Oh, it's from the Rebuild.
Oh, yeah.
The Odd Life of Ray Ayanami.
But I do want to watch them just because the design's
just
neat.
Imagine Gendo and Shinji's mom, because I don't remember her name, just being like, what do we want in a little kid? And they just write down emotionless, dead inside.
Oh, because it's Ray. Well, that's, I mean... I guess if you want to do that, it would be me reincarnated, the mom speaking, but emotionless, dead inside, and easily replicated to be used as Nerves,
But I'm
personal
still
cum dumps.
But I'm still imagining they're like the same people they were in their youths, and they were just like ecstatic, kind of like the parents in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, we want an emotionally dead child. We want a challenge.
I don't think it's much of a challenge. To raise Ray in normal scenarios, she'd be very easy.
Well, I'm imagining what they're trying to do is like make her not emotionally
Yeah,
dead.
right.
Because I've seen parents like that.
Train her
That's
to
what it
react
would
normally when Shinji accidentally grabs her tits. And she's like, can you stop doing that?
Train her to own a reaction channel on YouTube.
Make her a reactionary. I remember when one of those fucking... Speaking of IHG, when IHG made that video about I hate reaction channels, and then the reaction channels made reaction videos to his... Which is awesome.
Yep.
And there was one of them where one of the guys called the reaction channels, they referred to them as reactionists, which is awesome. Because he just has no idea that he's like making a self-deprecating political statement, essentially, when he says that. Just clueless. All he does is absorb information, and he doesn't know that. You would think that reaction channels would be like really smart, because they're just like sponges that soak up info all day.
Well, that's the thing. They don't retain it.
Yeah. Just bounces right off.
Well, and they just... It's just... For the rest of that video, it's just... They use it up in that little bit of discussion they sometimes have at the end. And then as soon as they upload it, it's gone.
I love the reaction channels that their only insight is, damn, that's crazy. Well... See you guys next time. Make sure you I don't think the reaction channel is
CJ, you a bust.
I don't think the reaction channel is an inherently bad format. Like, I think if you have someone who actually is like a critic or can be critical of something and has things to say,
at that point it just turns into like almost a riff.
Yeah, sure.
A riff or like a commentary track
over
the fucking video.
Or a Mystery Science Theater 3000-esque.
Even though that is essentially still a reaction channel, we don't really think of it as that, because the term reaction channel is like negative
like
connotation.
Reactionary improv comedy.
Reactionary improv comedy.
That's why I said esque.
Wow, so Ryan, what I was just making a joke about, where the guy didn't realize what the term reactionary meant politically, Ryan just did that exact same thing, unironically, on the podcast right after I brought it up. That's cool.
It'd be great if he was just like, we call ourselves the Tories.
Yeah.
I was kind of spacing out.
Well, I'm a big fan of Toriel, so we're calling our party the Tories.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Please tell me that's like what fans of Toriel call
I don't know, but
I wish.
I feel like mathematically someone has to have done that in the history of the world.
Hello, my fellow Tories.
Think about the Undertale fan base and
completely different people,
and the crossover between them and people who know enough about UK politics to know what the Tory party is, and that has to have happened at least once.
Definitely. There are people in the UK who definitely like Undertale. That's for sure. I can assure you of that. I don't know how I can, but I can.
Yeah.
I just know things. My name is Timothy Green.
I'm in the case of, because it's 45 minutes in. It's time we pivot to video games and stop talking about the topic of the. I feel like I'm pretty good at avoiding caring too much about the annoying Undertale fandom when I appreciate it. Although I can see why some people struggle with it, because it's so like cutesy.
Well, I think the people that struggle with it are the people who are active on the social medias that the Undertale fans are active
you're
on,
right.
Like Tumblr and Twitter.
Which
and
is
such.
one more reason to not be on social media, is it ruins your ability to appreciate popular things.
Because I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I feel like I can appreciate the game. I haven't played Deltarune, but I've heard that one's all right.
Yeah.
I feel like I can appreciate them and just sift through the mud and fool's gold of the fandom to get the little nuggets of panhandling for good stuff.
Yeah.
I think Undertale and Deltarune are good. Fandoms are just too much. Too big.
They're not... They're far from the worst, to be clear here.
At least it wasn't like Five Nights at Freddy's where Scott Cawthon fucking changed how ridiculous the story was because MatPat existed. At least they stayed good. Or Undertale or Deltarune was like still as good, if not better, than Undertale.
Well, I feel like even Toby Fox is kind of disconnected from the fandom at this point. Because he's like the game.
Which I would
the
want.
games were good enough that he can have a reputation as like a serious artist and just sort of avoid the pop culture ification of his work in a sense.
Which is weird because of what got him starting to work on those projects. Because it was this weird intersection of, because he was a fan of, he was kind of a, I don't want to say prominent member of, but he was a member of both the like Earthbound fandoms and the Homestuck fandoms.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see the Homestuck influences in Undertale as well as the Earthbound influences.
I mean, he worked. Yeah, obviously.
I could not possibly know less about Homestuck. I know literally nothing, but just from the character designs I've seen, I can tell. Like I can see it, especially with God, the Undyne looks.
Yeah. As a person who knows too much about Homestuck from a friend who read all of Homestuck in like 2 weeks, which is nearly impossible.
That sounds.
Yeah, it's very similar to Homestuck.
That sounds autistic.
That sounds. That sounds like.
It was pretty autistic. Kane the boss.
Oh my God, that was the boy. That was the king of bad takes himself, Kane the boss.
Where he loved Homestuck so goddamn much, and he told me every second of it.
Jeez. That's amazing.
Yikes.
He became like your version
so
of my IRL quote unquote friend who told me all about fucking JoJo.
Oh Christ. JoJo is something that
he was a special human being.
Here's a good example, because I love our Discord server that we're all on, and I will never leave it, but that Discord server is ruining JoJo for me, like Twitter ruins Undertale for so many, and I will never watch it, because I've heard far too many people talk about it in far too much detail, and there's no way I'll ever no way I'll ever appreciate it properly or bother to try and appreciate it properly. Both of those things will never happen.
Here's a question, spinning off of what you just said. Thinking about something, that you really like right now that you had the chance to experience when it was still relatively new, like something like Dark Souls.
No, I was late on the fucking boat for Dark Souls for sure. I hated that. I really hated Dark Souls for years. And
for me, it's Doki Doki Literature Club. I got in on.
I was pretty late to that boat too. Not as late, but still pretty late. I don't know if there's anything that I was on the.
Well, I got there before it was popular.
To continue my question, which is what I was building to, think about something you like. It doesn't have to be Dark Souls. I was just saying that as an example. It could be like Kingdom Hearts or something. Just something that you like and enjoy, and how do you think you would feel about it if you were exposed to it after something like, like how people talk about JoJo all the time.
Yeah.
If you read and look at all this shit about Kingdom Hearts and then you play it for the first time, do you think you would enjoy it or do you think you would hate it?
Well, like, when I say that, I'm aware that it has no connection to the quality of the work. Like, I know that JoJo could still be the most amazing shit ever.
Right.
I don't even... First off, this is kind of hard for me because I'm usually late to shit. I mean... I'm like struggling to remember a single time that I got really into something and excited about something before I heard someone else who was really into something and excited about something. Because
it's kind of just because you're just kind of lazy and sitting in.
Well, I have to know a lot about something before I care enough to put the effort. Like, that's part of the reason I played Mother 3 first, because I heard about how fucked up it was, and that's what got me to play it rather than people just telling me, "Oh, the games are good." Yeah, they're really good.
What about Disco?
I watched fucking Ragnar's video on it. That's what made me play it in the first place. Ragnar's video, like, I'm pretty sure several months after it came out. I had heard like a little bit about the game before it came out, but not enough to actually get invested in it. I have to hear like a decent bit of how I'm going to connect to it before I can really be motivated to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can relate.
You're just looking at your microphone now?
The dick smacking sound.
You can stop that.
Anyway, did we have anything else to say about this garbage?
Gross.
I'm hovering
gross,
my mouse over remove from group.
Gross neckbeard licks your ears ASMR. Now available on dlsite.com. If you guys are true weebs, you'll know what dlsite.com.
The one point I give this movie is because it's in HD.
Well,
What?
Okay.
That's all.
We're only at 55 minutes. What
Also-
game are me and Soy going to talk about for the last?
Also, isn't DL site that like Dojin website?
Yeah,
Dick lovers.
that's where the true
haven't-
weebs go because it's mostly in Japanese.
Ah, okay. I like e-hentai.
Yeah, that's the.
hentai is pretty good.
I appreciate the amount of filters it has.
Yeah, there's some good systems. The fucking thing where you can like set the weight of a tag and then have like a list of things that meet a certain amount of points according to your. That's a really cool system. I haven't had amazing results with it because I haven't put 7 million hours into configuring it properly, but very cool.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to talk about hentai for the last half hour? Or?
Not particularly. I'm not well studied on that.
What's your movie?
Oh yeah. I thought about Office Space, but I'm not gonna go with Office Space just yet. Let's go with I was talking about this recently. Baseketball, the Trey Parker and Matt Stone movie that I remember being funny and thinking was my favorite movie of theirs a long time ago. I don't even know if it's any good, to be honest. So it'll be a learning experience for everyone involved.
I know South Park is.
I
funny.
don't really like South Park, which is part of the reason I.
Well, a lot of people like
Yes,
South Park,
yes,
so
I know.
basing it, my opinion on that.
A lot of
Starring Matt Stone and Trey Parker, along with Yasmine Bleeth, Jenny McCarthy, Robert
Jenny
Vaughn,
McCarthy. Wow.
Ernest Borgnine, and Diane
Joey
Bakar.
Diaz.
It's
Is it
it's
Bakar? I don't know.
revolves around a fake sport with some pretty funny rules that I think are funny. At least it's very childish. So I guess.
Budget $20 million USD. Box office $7 million.
Yeah, I think I'm like the one guy that likes it.
Wonderful.
So
We'll
you
see.
watched it for $7 million.
yeah, that's right.
It was that important that you watched the new.
Everyone who pays to see a movie at the box office likes the movie. That's how it works. 100%.
Every time. If
If
you
you don't
pay
like
money,
it,
then
you
you
refund
have to
the
like it.
ticket
That's how
back.
consumerism works, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
As a person-
because if that wasn't the case, then it wouldn't be an accurate system because it would be people making money without necessarily that correlating to the quality of the product, and that would be horrific if we lived in a society where that was the way things worked.
Huh, yeah, that would be
So,
crazy.
luckily, that isn't
Lead
the
paint.
case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with your purchase of quart of lead paint? 1 pound or 1 pound of quart of lead paint.
1 pound of.
I mean, that a pint's a pound the world around is what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
That's the jingle I use.
So what's the for the game theory corner of the pod? What are we doing today?
Yeah. I have something I can.
I mean, it depends. I could talk about a lot of things, but
I haven't
it'd be
really
mostly
talked-
talking at you guys for the most part.
Yeah.
I could talk about the differences between 3D and 2D platform design.
I haven't played
What, like fucking sequel
very many
Oh God.
2D platformers. I don't think I've ever really played a 2D platformer. Like I don't know if I've finished one. I definitely prefer 3D generally. I feel like
What's your exposure to 2D? Like, what have you played? Have you played like Mario,
I had
Starfy?
the cart of Mario Brothers 2 on GBA, and I don't think I ever got past Birdo, or at least very far past Birdo, because it wasn't really my thing as a kid. I don't even know if 2D platformers would really be my thing now. I haven't tried.
Well, because it certainly wasn't ultra violence.
Yeah. I was telling Soy that when I was a kid, my main interest was finding the most violent video games I could get my hands on with the most killing and bloodshed.
And that's why you attached yourself to the cutter power in Kirby?
Yeah. Because I wanted the most, like, traditional weapon
You should
power-up
definitely
available to me.
It feels so cool to use, though.
The cutter?
Or no, sword. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's sword.
Yeah, there's sword and then there's
all the
cutter,
Kirby
but they're
powers
different.
feel pretty fucking good to use, but swords like animations. And
Well, it depends on what
feels
Kirby
good.
game you're playing. Because if you're playing Nightmare Dreamland or
I'm playing,
Adventure, it's just one button. But if you're playing Superstar, then every power kind of has a moveset. Or if you're playing 64, it's more about the combining of powers to get something new. So it's not about the moveset necessarily.
Actually,
Or if you're
there's
playing Squeak Squad, it's also about combining stuff.
a really good chance that the 2D platformer I played the most as a kid was Pitfall on Activision Anthology, which I also made no progress. I don't even know if there is progress in Pitfall, but I never...
No, there isn't.
Really? That's cool.
I don't think so.
It's a pretty fucking sick game, honestly, especially for the 2600. It's like, there's a lot going on.
You should play
I love
Pitfall
how
too.
Atari games were like mostly pointless.
Yeah, but...
But I guess that's just how it was back then. It was just a big.
Well, the cool thing about Activision Anthology is they had like a bunch of like 80s music on the disc, so you could just like listen to 80s music and dick around with Pitfall for a few hours.
There is an end, but you have to get all the treasures within a time limit.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I forgot. It's not that there's no progression. It's just, I think the map loops if you go all the way to the right.
Right.
It just loops you back to the start.
Yeah.
If you ever play Pitfall
Here's
2,
one
that's
sort
the
of-
most technologically advanced Atari
I
2600
feel
game.
like if it was on that same collection, then I definitely did. But
Were you hopping around with a balloon on your back?
I don't remember.
Then a yes.
I also
You guys want to start a
played...
Dark Souls 3 co-op campaign?
Are you asking
What
me
about
if I
co-op
want to play
campaign?
Dark Souls 3 co-op campaign? Oh.
Yeah, that'd be fucking fun.
Do I need to own the game legitimately?
My friend ran me by the idea, and I was like, "That's pretty fucking."
Wait,
sick.
you said DS.
It's like It's like $13 or $10 on G2A.
What game is it?
Dark
I've
Souls.
never played it, so
What,
I'd probably be down for that, actually.
what does that have to do with platformers?
Nothing. I was just thinking about it, and also I'm playing Dark Souls 3 now.
Nice.
This is what Ryan does, is he gives up for the second half of the pod.
I was either.
I thought you were
going
getting
to
high,
just-
not playing a game.
I was either going to just play a game or just leave and like watch the chickens or some shit.
Christ. You know, you also play video games, and you could participate in the conversation. I'm sure you have played a 2D or 3D platformer before in your life.
I don't have to talk about how Mode 7 is the sickest shit, even though it technically should be called Mode 8 by natural numbers. I think it's natural numbers.
I feel like I'm drawn more to 3D platformers because I feel like the emphasis is more on exploration than raw skill, although that obviously varies. But I feel like exploration
I like the raw
is
skill
my
of 2D
favorite.
platforming over 2D platforming. Like Mario 64 gameplay versus Super Mario World gameplay. As much as I love Super Mario World, it's fucking stellar.
I think they're both stellar, but in different ways. I don't think you can at least compare
I prefer Mario World's music to 64's.
Now that's a
you can
take.
You can't really compare Mario World's gameplay to 64 and say that they're in the same class. They're different. Like
Yeah.
Mario World isn't necessarily about exploration. It's about, I would argue, it's about the scope, because that's the major thing that it was bringing to the table, and that with that installment, that's the word I was looking for, because it was a new console, Mario was getting bigger, so they, already it's in the title, Mario World, not Mario Land, not Mario 3, it's a Mario World, one that's comprised of multiple different map screens, the levels are huge, there's fucking a lot of, it like layers in the background, there's stuff flying at you, there's stuff everywhere on the screen, because the SNES can render so much more. It's a very, very good game in the guise of a tech demo. It has a lot of content in it.
Well,
I think Mario World is my favorite 2D Mario.
I've never played it.
It's pretty alright.
Fucking shit, dude.
I'm not gonna say you should, but it's pretty alright. There's a lot of very nice ROM hacks out there for it.
Yeah, I'm sure
Lunar
I will
Magic is
eventually.
Lunar Magic is definitely one of the better ROM hacking tools I've worked with, simply because it's just one it has a lot of dedication and thought put behind how it actually works and how people can use it very, very easily, because there's a lot of tools out there, even for making like fan games like Zelda Classic, that for the longest time were just fucking terrible and didn't really allow for any kind of creative expression. Like how Zelda Classic could only replicate the gameplay of Zelda 1 and nothing else.
Right.
That was all it could do. It could do it good, but why would you want to play Zelda 1?
I might try and answer that question soon. Maybe.
Why would you want to play Zelda 1? Because you're going to play it?
It's something that I'm passing around in my head for the channel, quote unquote, but it won't be for a while.
It's going to be randomized?
Maybe, if it's easy to set up and isn't too difficult to adapt to. Because I'm not going to play it twice, so if I do it, it's going to be first playthrough rando with, I'll have a guide up, obviously, because fuck trying to play an NES game without a guide, to be honest.
Yeah, if you're doing that with Metroid, then that's definitely a fuck that.
Right.
I feel like Zelda 1 you could kind of get through without a guide, unless you're trying to find like all the secret hearts, because those you definitely need a guide for. You can kind of rough out some of the weirder things, like how you can't get into Dungeon 8 without using the meat item, because you have to feed the moblin, and then he's just like, alright, I'll leave now. And you can't just go up and stab him in the face for no real reason. Because why would you want to stab a moblin? It's not like you've been fighting them the whole fucking game. No, you have to keep this one alive.
Alright, I'm installing the game, Ryan, so we can actually play this if you want. You better not bitch out on me. And do what you usually do and start a game and play it for 20 minutes and then be like, yeah, I'll get back to this later, and then you don't.
Hope you're ready for the worst Souls game.
Hey, I love Dark Souls 3.
Do you really feel that way?
No.
Okay.
I don't care.
I wouldn't know.
I've played a bit of it. I don't think I liked it as much as 1.
Well, there's no way anything's going to be as good as 1. I know that.
There are people out there, though.
Yeah. Like GSP.
And that's... Well,
shots fired on pod.
Well, because 3 took a lot more elements from Bloodborne, which was a completely different approach to that type of combat, even from like Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
Because it was an emphasis on speed, and people liked that a lot more than the methodical, more quote-unquote methodical gameplay of Dark Souls, where it's a lot more about planning and knowing active frames and iframes and things like that.
Yeah, but also the reason I like Dark Souls is because there is that capacity to rush in and ball out and kill the fucking boss. If there wasn't that capacity, then I probably wouldn't like the game that much. I usually take off my armor and pull out my giant-ass club.
I don't like how DS3 just reuses NPCs from 1.
Yeah, I heard that there's like fan service for DS3.
You get to meet Andre again. Andre's back. Okay. And it's the same voice actors, same model, same animations.
I thought time and space was like distorted and all that.
Might be.
Might
also be asset reuse. Roxas Ventus.
Yeah. Really, Kingdom Hearts should take the cue from Dark Souls, the time and space shit, so you don't even need consistency anymore, and then you can just do whatever you want all the time.
It almost feels like that, because in that one...
They said they were inconsistent that one time, so it's okay.
Well, that's how it is. Like, any one line or anything that could be interpreted multiple ways, the fans just swarm all over it.
Yeah.
Which some people interpret as creative writing, some people interpret it as being lazy. I guess to me it just depends in the end, because if it feels like it implies a greater mystery, I think it ends up working out fine, but if it's just an unanswered question that, you know, they've been building up to and it's just like left to the wayside in an unsatisfying way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's incredibly situational
like how,
too, me saying unsatisfying.
Right.
Because it
Nothing on my controller. Okay.
there's no definite way
Dark
that
Souls.
anything could
Dark
be
Souls
unsatisfying.
Are you already quitting? I haven't even fucking installed the
bad.
game
My
yet.
controller won't work, and I don't want to figure it out. Right
You're
now.
actually... I just fucking bought the game, and you're actually backing down.
I'll play it with you later. I'm not gonna not play it. I
Fucking
just don't want to deal with it right now.
incredible. Play with the JoJo mod.
Christ.
Yeah.
Crikey. Blimey. Fucking unbelievable.
When's
Fucking
Earthbound
Steve's
multiplayer
controller
coming
shit
out?
is the
That would be cool. I mean, like, couldn't you, in theory, just do a lot of turn-based JRPGs multiplayer? You just have your friend control the turn of half the characters or something.
What I'm imagining it is like how in the old Final Fantasies there's the active time gauge. Like every person just controls a character, and then once their meter is full, then they go.
That would be cool.
So for something like a turn-based combat, it would work, and for even more like real-time gameplay, like something like Kingdom Hearts, then it would also work out well because it's just multiple people. So
Yet that is
it
seemingly
might ruin the
non-existent.
balance of the games.
Yeah.
It might ruin the balance because I think it's almost like predicate. It's like leaning towards the fact of like, yeah, we put in some useless party members.
Yeah. But isn't there, like... I realize this is kind of an irrelevant question, but it's one I've been meaning to ask. Because you've played, like, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, right?
I have.
Like, that game is balanced for multiplayer. So, like, if you play it on hard in single player, is it, like, even plausible? Or...
I mean, I've played it single player. I don't remember if there's a difficulty selection.
Oh, okay. I feel like thought there was, but I don't know.
The way that I think it works, because I've played it multiplayer very scant few times. The way I think it works is that it basically just scales up the enemy health to be large enough that it would take a concerted effort for multiple people to take it down. But that design to me is flawed because it's assuming that that the players are going to be attacking every threat together.
Right, instead of
more
having
often
one...
than not, that's not going to be the case because all the characters, the 3 characters you can play as, have different play styles. Like there's the Arcane Archer who's primarily a DPS, but he's not like going to be up in the action. He's going to be standing at the back shooting magic arrows. And then there's the Sorceress who's also a DPS, but she can learn, I think she can learn some healing stuff. I don't remember, but she's meant to be even farther back than the Arcane Archer because at least the Archer can like use more than one type of melee weapon. And then there's the Dwarven Fighter who is supposed to be on the front lines as a, like, I think kind of more of an off tank because he mostly does a lot of damage type stuff. But if you could play as multiple of the same character, I think it would work maybe a little bit better, but even still, you know.
I hate Diablo.
Maybe if the health wasn't fucking doubled, I wouldn't have as big of a problem with it.
Part of the reason I hate Diablo is because it's like, how do you make it harder? Well, sponge it up. Either sponge it up or like add more enemies, which would be a lot better probably, but still, like, sponging is not fun. Doing the sponge. Borderlands is not fun. It's really not fun to play a shooter where you need fucking 80 clips to take down a single enemy. I mean, I know that's hyperbolic, but still. Like, the fun for shooters, to me, is shooting the guy and then they fall down, and not shooting really the health bar until it gradually slips down.
And I feel like if I was in charge of working on Dark Alliance, what I would probably do is I would almost like decrease the enemy health, like maybe lower it by a fraction, but increase more enemies on screen.
That would be better, yeah.
Just because it feels more like you're taking on a horde.
Yeah. Just don't do a Brotherhood of Steel and say, there are 23 rad scorpions in the warehouse.
That's static, I'm pretty sure. That doesn't change with multiplayer or single player.
Yeah, but just I hate that the fucking it tells you the exact number. Like if it were possible to get immersed in Brotherhood of Steel, which it's not, unless you're lobotomized.
Yeah, they would say kill all the scorpions.
Yeah, and then you would.
They wouldn't say the number.
You figure out how many.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense that these guys would know how many scorpions are in there unless they went in and were just like. There's like a pre-mission that you have to do before you do the fighting them. You have to go in and count them all. And you have to come back, and then you have to fucking go back in and fight them all.
If you kill them all before...
That would be perfect.
If you kill any of them before finishing the scouting mission, you actually soft lock the game, because then there's not enough in there for you to kill to complete the quest.
Yeah, it's not even a failed quest. It's just a soft lock.
Yes. That's good design. Honestly, that's the least of Brotherhood of Steel's problems.
We didn't even get to the worst parts of that game.
Oh, I know. I played a bit of it beyond where we got, and that first boss fight is fucking stupid. Where he's just like throwing bombs everywhere, and it's just like, okay. The way you fight in this game is you get up to them and you mash, and you've taken away that, and now it sucks.
You Kingdom Hearts at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have much more to say. I think I'm gonna stop.
The podcast is probably over. This episode probably is never going to come out. He's like 3 episodes behind.
No, I'll upload all of them. I don't want to disappoint your dad. I need to upload them all.
Wow.
But do you at least want to comment on the idea of like combat balance in an action game? What do you think it should be? In the case of multiplayer, do you think it should be scaling up the health and just making the encounter tougher, but not in any meaningful way, just more in terms of it takes more time and it's more tedious now? Or do you agree with my idea that it should be more about like kind of crowd control and taking care of a larger, like the challenge comes from dealing with more enemies, even though they're weaker overall, you just have to try and keep a lid on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about as difficult as it would be in single player.
Doom Eternal did it in this really smart way where they not only increased like the health pool of the enemies, but they made them like a lot more aggressive and harder, and they lessened your resources. So you have to like play the game like as it was designed, like into the game's design to like actually beat it.
Well, yeah, but I think
so standard hard mode affair.
But I think ideally the best possible hard mode would be even less resources than that, even more aggressive enemies than that, but their health isn't buffed, and it's still standard, because it's like it takes very little extra health for a fight to go from engaging to just fucking tedious as all hell. Like it doesn't take very much additional health for it to just be like, come on, just fucking. I'm sick of this fucking part. Like, whenever I mod Bethesda games, one of the things I always make sure to get is, like, everyone does 300% more damage to each other. I feel like that's, like, a must. I hate fucking playing Fallout games without incredibly high damage amounts on both sides. So...
yeah.
It's part of the reason I think vanilla survival
in
Fallout 4 is a fucking disaster. Because it's just like, everyone takes fucking 1,000,000 bullets, except for you, and you take 1. And it's like, can you really not make a game challenging and engaging where we both can only take a few bullets? Like, is that... Whatever.
That's why it should be like Stalker.
Yeah. This, but unironically.
Bullet damage is tied to your difficulty. Now, the thing that was bullshit on release that they did fix in a patch was the accuracy of your iron sights was inversely tied to the difficulty. So your iron sights were less accurate on easy, but they were more accurate on the harder difficulties.
That doesn't make any sense. And really, there should be no variance at all between difficulties.
No, and that's how it is now, I think.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't, you can play with like Stalker Complete or another like general fix mod, because there's a few of them out there, at least for Shadow of Chernobyl, and I think there's one for Clear Sky. I know there's one that adds in like a pseudo developer console. It's called the Wish Granter.
Oh, that's good.
It lets you spawn like almost like any entity in the game, including the vehicles, which were never properly programmed in.
It would be fun if it was a cheat engine that was like Monkey Paw and it was called the Wish Granter, and it would be like you'd spawn something in, but then there would be some caveat.
I wish. I mean, you can spawn enemies. That's almost like a monkey's paw, because if you spawn them close enough, then they'll just immediately aggro towards you.
Right.
That can be a lot of fun.
I am gone.
There's
What was that? I'm gone? Is that what you said? Oh, yep, he muted.
Wow. GG. There's a thing that I feel like some devs don't get, where like usually you want to feel like you're able to play the game to the best of your ability, to like use the extent of the mechanics available to you. And I feel like some devs, in an effort to make more difficulty or to make a narrative point, will sort of infringe on that instead of changing the world in a way that makes using your mechanics to the best of your ability more difficult. Like, I feel like Silent Hill does a good job of it in a sense, because the way they convey fear is by making your mechanics 100% reliable and consistent, or at least close to it, but just kind of clunky and indirect. So it's like, you can use them to the best of your ability, you can learn how to use them. It's not like you're rolling fucking dice every time you move or attack, but it's not Homecoming. You don't have tactical rolls and shit.
Yeah, you're not. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I would say that the word for that would be mechanical synergy.
Yeah.
Because the ideal game design is that all of the mechanics that you have in your game synergize and harmonize with one another, and they work with each other to create the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So for something like Silent Hill, what are your mechanics? Well, you have combat and you have this oppressive atmosphere. Well, how are they going to synergize? Well, we're going to make the combat not feel the same way as it would be in like an action game, because these are just regular people you're playing as. They're not like military people, dare I say.
Right, yeah.
Like I was saying before, it's before, this was a while ago, but when I was talking to you about the MDA, that design philosophy, it's about the aesthetics, or what emotion does the game dev want to elicit from you.
Yeah.
Or what feeling, not necessarily emotion, but yeah.
I think probably the greatest mechanical synergy that at least I've ever seen is Far Cry 2, because holy shit. I'm sure there's been a million
it's about the story.
Fucking papers written about the genius mechanical synergy of that game. The fact that Ubisoft will never make a work of art that difficult or uncompromising ever again as a publisher, certainly, or at least release, because they're not making it. Don't want to give them too much credit.
Well, no, because they had to make more Assassin's Creeds.
Yeah, make the same game with like
we have to.
Which it seems like the fucking Assassin's Creed games and like and because Watch Dogs and Far Cry are now just Assassin's Creed games. Like they always add in some gimmick that they try to market it on, but then like the gimmick doesn't actually matter. Like I remember in Revelations they had the thing where it was like you manage your like underling assassins, or it doesn't fucking matter. You're just going to do the same shit. You're just going to clear all the blips off the map again.
Yeah, that was in Brotherhood when they first introduced